Hey guys, what's up? For this set of interviews over on CinemAddicts, Eric has two sets of interviews for you. First up is Anand Tucker. He is the filmmaker behind this new movie called The Critic. It is described as a British period thriller. It's in theaters September 13th. And here is the synopsis. Quote, set in 1934 London, Ian McKellen plays Jimmy Erskine, the city's most feared drama critic, and Gemma Arterton plays Nina Land, the actress determined to win his approval, that is. Adversaries forced to take desperate measures to save their careers, they become entangled in a dangerous web of blackmail, ambition, and deception when Jimmy finds himself in the crosshairs of his newspaper's owner, David Brooke. This will be released in US and Canada on September 13th, and that is the first interview. It's with Anand Tucker. His previous credits include Shop Girl and Hillary and Jackie, as well as a film called Leap Year. It's an interesting talk with Eric Holmes because Anand also talks about movies that of his own that may not have been received in favorable measure by certain critics, and some critics have been mean to his movies. And since this movie is about a critic, he actually brings some insights on his own thoughts on movie criticism, and they're pretty kind to critics as well. So that's pretty interesting. Ooh, I'm looking here. Romola Garai is in The Critic. I need to see this movie. This is one of the films I have not been able to watch this week. We are taping CinemAddicts tomorrow. I'm recording this on Wednesday. Let me just say one more thing, a couple more things. I want to tell you guys the movies we are covering this week on CinemAddicts. But anyways, that is The Critic. It's going to be in, like I said, in theaters September 13th. Stars Ian McKellen and Gemma Arterton and Romola Garai. Some really great actors involved. And I am definitely, if I have time this week, I will check it out. But we have so many movies to cover, and I haven't even seen a fraction of them. So again, apologize for my typing. If you can hear it on the mic, if it's picking up on the mic. Okay, so these are the CinemAddicts reviews we are covering this week. Okay, so here, let me look at the Google document. Obviously, The Critic is one of them because Eric's already seen this movie. Okay, along with The Critic, there is a movie called Booger, Dead Money, Believer, Winner, and The 4:30 Movie, and Subservience. By the way, we cannot do Subservience because the powers that be are not allowing critics to review this movie. It stars Megan Fox. But speaking of The 4:30 Movie, one of the movies we're reviewing this week, it's Kevin Smith's latest. And he also, as most of his films, he also wrote the screenplay to The 4:30 Movie. It's set in the summer of 1986, centers on three 16-year-old buddies who spend their Saturdays in their local Cineplex, sneaking from one movie to the next. When one of them gets a date with a girl he's been crushing on for at least a year, things go kind of haywire when they decide to meet for the 4:30 showing. That's why it's called The 4:30 Movie. Now, for this specific film, Eric Holmes was able to interview 4 actors. So you're not going to, unless you know who these people are, there might be some voice ID problems, but I'll be actually uploading the interview, the video version on our CinemAddicts YouTube channel, so you can actually listen to the audio, check out the videos regarding who's saying what. And what's cool is Eric actually name stamps certain people. He'll ask maybe one of them a question and they'll answer. So it won't be that hard to distinguish from one actor to the other. 3 of them are actors. 1 of them is an actress. The talent for the 4:30 Movie is Austin Zajur, Nicholas Cirillo, Reed Northrup, and Siena Agudong. So those are the 4 people that Eric interviews. It's only a 7-minute interview that 7-minute plus interview he did in his car on his break from work, which he catch can a lot of times when he'll be doing these interviews when he's actually working. So props to Eric Holmes for going that extra mile for CinemAddicts listeners, so you guys get a little bit more insights on The Critic and the 4:30 Movie. Both of these films are going to be exclusively in theaters September 13th. Hit us up if you see these movies this weekend. Let us know what movies you're watching. Hope you enjoy these interviews from Eric Holmes. And again, thank you for supporting me, Eric, Bruce Purkey, and of course, Anderson Cowan, who is here in spirit or in CinemAddicts as a co-founder. Thanks for supporting our CinemAddicts community since 2015. And yeah, check out The Critic and the 4:30 Movie. I will say this before the review. I really enjoyed the 4:30 Movie. I've yet to see The Critic. I'll definitely listen to. Eric said he liked it in the interview. Let's see how much he loves it when he gives his actual review of The Critic. But that's in the future. Let's focus on the present. Here is Eric's interview with Anand Tucker for The Critic. And then after that, you'll hear a little bit of a tone and a shift to the 4 actors or Kevin Smith's The 4:30 movie. Thanks again, guys. Bye.
Do you pronounce your first name Anand?
Anand.
Anand? Okay.
Anand, yeah.
All right.
Or some version thereof.
Yeah, I've been butchering that on my own. I'm like, I do not know how to say this. But
you know what? It's the equivalent in India of like John.
Oh, okay. How's it going, John?
Basically.
But I'm here with Anand Tucker, director of The Critic. Yeah, this is a really cool movie. Didn't go quite the way I was expecting it to. And this is based on a book, and I didn't get to read the book, A Curtain Call by Anthony Quinn. One thing I like to ask people that do adaptations is what's kind of your thoughts on adaptations? Because some people like to do it like, we need to do it exactly like the original or as faithful to that as possible. And other people are like, I like the idea, but we're going to take a different direction on this.
Do you know, I think it entirely depends on the book and the circumstances of what kind of movie you think you can make. Because obviously, movies are really, really different from books. They're an entirely different experience. You know, a book takes you inside your own head and gives you endless vistas of whatever you can imagine. You know, a movie is like a series of images, and it's kind of pretty, the image is the image and that's it. And they're kind of quite stupidly simple in some ways in how they tell their story. So, but I've done both. You know, I produced a movie called The Girl with the Pearl Earring, which was based on a best-selling novel. And that was actually incredibly true to the novel, you know, very, very truthful to it, with Colin Firth and Scarlett Johansson. But this adaptation is actually the latter. So our amazing writer, Patrick Marber, who is one of England's finest writers, playwrights, screenwriters, writer of Closer and Dealer's Choice, amongst other things, Notes on a Scandal. He had been sent the book Curtain Call by Tony Quinn, and he really loved the book. But what he was really struck by was the world that Tony had created, sort of 1930s London theatre world, which is very particular, and in particular one character within the book, which is the character of the critic. And so, with Tony's permission, he took that character and kind of created a whole kind of, it's as if it's the sequel subplot. You know, it's Robin's movie. If you can imagine that maybe, you know, Curtain Call is Batman's story.
Yeah. Another thing that excited me about this is that in the movie, Ian McKellen's character, he's a critic, and I would say he's kind of an a-hole because he's like just being truthful. And it's like, are you though? I think you're digging a little deeper, digging a little harder than you need to. But he gets to start a conversation with one of the people he critiques. And what I do and what you're doing now is like an interview, but later on I'll be reviewing the movie. But there's never, it feels like with critics, once they review a movie or a food critic reviews food or whatever, the conversation stops there. What I liked about this was that it didn't stop there. And in fact, Ian McKellen just kind of walked away. He was trying to run away from it. But yeah, I guess just what's your take on critics in general, and why doesn't that conversation continue after the art's put out there and has been adjudicated?
Well, I think that's a really good question. So, and there's a number of questions in there, so I'll try my best to forgive me if I miss anything. But I think the first thing is, the 1930s was a very, very different time for how critics operated in a media landscape. There were very few outlets, very few national newspapers. And if you happened to be the theatre critic on a national newspaper in England, you were nationwide. Everybody read you. That's it. And there was nothing else. There was no other way to get any, if you're living 100 miles out of London or in South, that's it. Nowadays, of course, everyone is their own publisher. And there's, in a way, everyone's a critic, and that's great. We've democratized that. So the role and the voice, which I would still argue is very important. I think critics are incredibly important and artists in their own right. And I'm not just saying that. I'll come back to that. But obviously back then, critics like Jimmy Erskine were gods, and they had the power to open or close shows, make or break careers. And Ian himself experienced that. So Ian McKellen obviously came out of that sort of world of the theatre in the 40s and 50s, which is a whole other world, and experienced what it was like to live in a world where these great beasts, as they were called, ruled with fear, in a way, I guess, like a Pauline Kael in the movie business, who had the power to, her opinion was what everyone, that was it. If she said it was good, it was good. If she said it was bad, it was over, And so what's interesting about that is, you can't just talk about the character of the critic, Jimmy Erskine, in the movie without having the context of the fact that he is actually a gay man who is succeeding in a world where he has to hide his true identity, who he is, because if comes out who he really is, that's it. It's over. His life, everything is built. In fact, he'll probably go to prison or worse. So the stakes are incredibly high, and he's been living a lie all his life in one way. But his mission, and I think the thing that redeems this very villainous character in the film, is the fact that he does believe in art, the power and purity of art for him as expressed through theatre, that this is something that's important. This is why we are here, right? Because we love movies, and movies, I would say, are an art form. And why? Because they show us how we are connected to other people. Art at its best does that. So Jimmy believes in the power and beauty of art, and he believes that there should be standards, right? And that he has a responsibility to his audience as well, right? Not to waste their money if they only earn so much and it's very expensive. And that also, I think quite rightly, as a critic, and he understands that the art that someone makes is not the person themselves, but many artists tend to confuse themselves with the thing they've made, and obviously get very, very upset. I know it's hard, but you're not your work, right? All that being said, I think it's a shame that the conversation doesn't go deeper nowadays, isn't more honest, because I think the finest critics illuminate great work. And they are, the way they can write about it, can take a receiver of that into places in the piece of work that you didn't even know, could open avenues out for understanding, can even actually take you to places and to go and see things that you never could. But it does require that critic to be true to themselves and to say the truth. And sometimes that's harsh. But I think the fault lies not with the critic. The fault lies with the so-called artists, if we are all too bloody lily-livered to take any criticism. We should be humble enough to listen. It's as simple as that. No one is a master apart from a handful of people. Martin Scorsese. The rest of us are, and scrabbling around just trying to do something the best we can, and we can always be better. Sorry, a very long answer, but...
Oh, no, that was a great answer. But also kind of, so... you and a whole team of people put a lot of time and care into this, and then you have someone like what's an example? Because you've done a bunch of movies. What's an example of and I'm sure you've had plenty of movies reviewed. What's an example of something that's been like a fair critique, and what's an example of something where you're just being a dick?
Well, I don't. Here's the thing. Even the worst reviews I'd had, and I'll give you a couple because I've had some stinkers. Right? They all have a kernel of truth in them for the person who wrote the review. Right. So my first film was a film called Hillary and Jackie, and I was super lucky that it got into the Venice Film Festival. It was amazing. I was 30 years old and go off to the Lido in the 90s, and we have the big gala, and we're all waiting for the reviews the next morning in the sumptuous hotel on the canals, and it's the main Italian newspaper comes in and they open the paper, and the reviewer goes, the first lines were, "This movie stinks worse than the Venice canals in the height of summer." Now, Jimmy Erskine could have written that. Anyway, basically, the Italian reviewer absolutely hated the film. And I've been thinking about it over the years. And actually, in the end, you know what? I think the failing was probably on my part, because although I think the movie's okay, I don't think it's a stinker. It's not a masterpiece or anything. But, I think that what I hadn't done was universalize enough the very particularly British story of of Jacqueline Dupre, so that an Italian person could take on the cultural baggage that film had and see beyond the sort of silly Britishness and understand that it a lot of was going on beneath the surface of cups of tea, which for an Italian, that's not how they emote, right? In Italy, you say what you think. In Britain, we have a cup of tea if we want to murder someone. So I think in retrospect, I could have done better. I made another movie for a studio called Leap Year, which, it had its moments, but, I remember there was a editorial in the Irish Sunday Times that said I should be banned from ever traveling into Ireland for the crime of having made this movie with its multitude of, Irish cliches. They had a point, but it was made with love. What can I say? I think all criticism is valid. Honestly, I do. And if you are so sensitive that you can't understand that you're not your work, I'm not my work. I'm not Leap Year or whatever, Yeah. I'm me.
But like the two examples you gave is like there's definitely hyperbole in there, and that's I don't know. Like when does it cross the line, and when is hey, the thing I did you didn't like, and that's fair for these reasons, but it like the crime.
Yeah,
I don't think you committed a crime.
No, but I think listen. I enjoy it when critics are entertaining. I'm the first to turn to my wife in the morning, who's also director. And, if we read a review of a film and it's like one of those, you kind of share it and laugh. It's entertaining. And listen, critics are writing for an audience too. I get it, and it's your duty to entertain. It's your duty to inform and to entertain. Right now, you would hope that one would do that with that the writing, whatever is around the terrible barb, that whatever is around it at least has a modicum of understanding of filmmaking, that the critic themselves, you can tell, loves movies too, and understands movies, and then it might not be their kind of movie. It might be maybe they just hate rom-coms. And think they're all terrible. But that doesn't mean that, but so long as the critic is honest about where they're coming from, then I'm fine with that. What I have a problem with is if, like it's anything, if it becomes personal, or if clearly the person who's writing the review or whatever has no real understanding of the form that they're writing about. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I get that. But I wish we could continue this conversation after I reviewed the movie. Unfortunately, I loved it, so there's not going to be much to talk about.
Okay, here's the thing. If you don't, I'm going to come and find you.
There you go.
I know where you live.
But I do kind of want to end on this. I just want to get an idea of like a movie that you really love that's like maybe a lesser champion, like people talk about like The Godfather and Citizen Kane, but like what's like a movie that's like I really like this, not enough people talk about it.
Well, I don't know if not enough people talk about it, but I absolutely, one of my favorite movies two. I'll give you two. In the Mood for Love by Wong Kar-wai, which is for me, and I know many people, but it is like the movie that's broken my heart and I love more than any other. And I probably ripped off more than, in fact, I shouldn't have said that, because if you look at the critic, you'll see how I've shamelessly just basically ripped off Wong Kar-wai. And
if you're going to rip off anyone.
And then, you have to see The Grandmaster. Have you seen that? His Wong Kar-wai's movie, The Grandmaster.
Yes.
Oh my God. Sorry. Anyway, and the other film is the most perfect film ever made, which is Groundhog Day. Basically, the greatest movie ever made, the ultimate genre film about the whole meaning and point of life. It's just genius. So there you go.
I love it. Well, The Critic comes out in theaters September 13th. Anand, I messed up your name again, but you've been an absolute joy. Thanks for joining me, and congratulations on a banger.
Cheers, mate. I really appreciate it. Lots of love.
Yeah, I'm here with the cast of the 4:30 movie. Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. Hey, good. How you doing?
I guess so. I don't normally get a whole ensemble like this to interview, and so I guess the first question I get: your chemistry in this movie is pretty fantastic, and that's not surprising. It's Kevin Smith movies. These characters are usually have pretty good chemistry. What is it about working together and working with Kevin Smith that kind of makes you guys gel together as well as you do?
I mean, I had to say hats off to the casting director, Amy Renee, who casted this, because I mean, it's pretty nuts when just off of a self tape, you can kind of match all these different people up and they organically just have great chemistry. That's pretty rare. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'd agree. It was kind of, I was just privileged to participate in a well put together cast that is formed by the likings of these folks right here. So, and then to be led by Kevin Smith, it was just a joy.
And Siena, Reed?
I think an recurring theme on set was just everyone in the cast and the crew, where they were just happy to be there, and everyone was excited for the film that we were making. We all are filming this not just because we love the work, but because we believe in it and that we love the story that Kevin is telling. So, just everyone showing up every single day on set, it definitely helps build the community.
Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah, I concur with everything that's been said. It's a rare blessing when you get put with a group of strangers who actually all get along. And it's really awesome that they were able to, know that we would obviously be able to deliver our work as actors. And then the surprise was that we'd also be able to like deliver the work of being a human being, which is like being kind and having fun. So I'm really, really grateful to Amy and Kevin for putting together such a punk rock team.
Awesome. And I don't want to give away the ending, but I hope this is not the last we see of these characters. I suppose any of you can take this on. Is there any plans on a 431 movie or anything like that?
Not that I know of. I mean, I've heard him make jokes about the Midnight movie. Like that would be, I guess, the sequel where they're older. But I have no idea. But that'd be cool.
Oh yeah, definitely. And for each of you, like, what got you started on this? Austin, I believe you've worked with Kevin Smith before, and then the rest of you, you mentioned like casting directors. But what was your process into getting into this movie?
Just self-tape, just one little tape with a friend that helped me tape it. Taped it at his house. Mr. Mike Milligan, shout out Mike Milligan. I taped it with him, and then I got a call like couple of weeks later, not immediately like Siena did apparently.
That was a couple of weeks.
Dude, like when we saw that, everyone saw that tape, that was just like, oh, it's crazy. It was nuts.
Is that tape available anywhere or like up on YouTube or anything like that?
No, I don't think so.
Oh,
but Nick probably has it. But it was a great tape.
You can pay Nick for him to release the tapes.
Yeah, I'm setting up our Cameo account. Maybe this would be a good time to plug that if you don't mind.
Send me your PayPal information. I will pay for that tonight. So, I mean, Kevin Smith's kind of notoriously like happy, charming person. I'm assuming he's like that behind the scenes, and I imagine the set's fun as hell. What was it like just being on set making this movie? Because like on screen, it looks like you guys had a blast. I imagine you did behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like summer camp. Sorry, Siena, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, please.
It just felt like summer camp. Like getting to make this movie on the Jersey Shore in the summer during a strike when other people unfortunately weren't able to work as we waited out negotiations with our unions, getting to actually work because Kevin makes his movies independently. Everyone was so excited to be there. So the energy was just high all the time. Like even if I was tired, I was still having a great day. And that's a testament, of course, to the kind of movies Kevin makes, but also the people he brings in, because even all of our guest stars and cameos came in with like such positive energy. Like the day that Rosario was there, Rosario Dawson, even when she wasn't filming, she was like standing behind Kevin, watching on the camera, like giving everyone a thumbs up and like encouraging everyone. Like, yeah, the energy was just really, really high.
Nice. And I guess I'll end with this, just kind of go around the horn. So everyone's going to go check out the 4:30 movie in theaters September 13th, and which would be fun. But maybe you want to watch a movie before you go watch the 4:30 movie, or maybe you want to go home and watch a movie after. For each of you, what do you think would be a good double feature for the 4:30 movie?
Hit it.
Well, I think we all are going to agree, and I'll go ahead and speak for all of us, the perfect double feature that is primed up this September 13th, this upcoming weekend at the
Friday the 13th.
Okay, Friday the 13th. What are we going to do? We're going to start that Friday off, maybe at 4:30 if you can. and see the 4:30 movie. That's what you're going to do, because that's the perfect way to kick off the weekend. Now we're in the 80s. Now we're feeling nostalgic, and we're not going to stop there. We're going to pay for that 4:30 ticket, and then we're going to sneak in at the local cinema to the nearest theater showing Beetlejuice, the perfect double feature. The new 4:30, the new Beetlejuice. It's Barbenheimer 2.0. You thought they made money last year. You wait and see the money we're going to make at the box office this year. Billions.
Nick, you're a born salesman. I love it. But Austin, Nicholas, Reed, Siena, thanks for joining me. And this was a real fun movie, and hope it does well. And congratulations all four of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.